Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. This is your Akazaki Yahoo, and I start this broadcast as I would start any broadcast by first of all giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah Bahashem, Yahushua HaMashiach, and to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth. I say, Shalom Wabaruki, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait till the day that the Most High brings us back together. And we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation under the Most High Power, under one covenant. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I'm joined this afternoon by my most esteemed Akinanaya. Shabbat Shalom, Aki.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Aki. Shabbat Shalom, Yasharal. All praises to the Most High for allowing us to gather yet again on this set-apart Yom. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. We are back again on another set-apart Yom, another set-apart day that the Most High have enjoined unto us. It's I don't see very much sun outside, but it's still a beautiful day, and it's still a Sabbath of rest. So all praises to the Abba. We're going to get into a video review here, where we're going to look into a couple of videos from our good brothers over at Black Journals. And if you haven't checked out Black Journals, man, check out their page there. They got some good information for us. We're going to get right to it. This is Forbidden Knowledge, Why the Ethiopian Bible Was Banned. And this is a two-part video.
There have been quite a number of interesting, curious...
My goodness, they didn't want to react to what I was doing. Not only why the Ethiopian Bible was banned, but we also have another video that's going to come after this, the untold story of the Black hero who saved the Union's pride. So that's part 2 coming up. Let's get to this one, and we'll back it up just a little bit. And let's go. Here we go.
There have been quite a number of interesting, curious findings about this remarkable place. Lying in the eastern part of Africa, between the equator and the Tropic of Cancer, in a region known as the Horn of Africa, the origin of Ethiopia happens to be largely the origin of us all. Nelson Mandela once said,
Ethiopia always has a special place in my imagination, and the prospect of visiting Ethiopia attracted me more strongly than a trip to France, England, and America combined. I felt I would be visiting my own genesis, unearthing the roots of what made me an African.
This is how truly old this place called Ethiopia is, which brings about us using the term the mystery giant for it. Ethiopia was home to the most ancient kingdom in Africa, one of the first monarchies in the world. It is the sole African country to possess an alphabet more than 2,000 years old. It is the only country on the continent to have maintained independence in the face of European colonizers. However, here's the very nucleus of this video. Hidden within the Ethiopian borders lies a controversial and little-known story that has captivated scholars and historians for centuries. This is the story of the Ethiopian Bible, a sacred text that has been banned and suppressed by various rulers and religious authorities throughout history, but very actively used in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, until today. The region, Ethiopia, was home to some of the earliest known civilizations in Africa, including the Kingdom of Dumt and the Kingdom of Aksum. One of the most important periods in Ethiopia's history was the rise of the Kingdom of Aksum, which emerged around the 1st century AD. Aksum was a powerful and influential kingdom that controlled much of the Horn of Africa and traded with civilizations as far away as Rome and India. The kingdom was known for its advanced architecture, including the famous obelisks of Aksum, as well as its adoption of Christianity as the state religion in the 4th century AD. And then, in the 7th century, Ethiopia faced invasions from Islamic forces, which led to the decline of the Kingdom of Aksum. However, the Christian Kingdom of Aksum was eventually replaced by the Zagwe dynasty, which ruled Ethiopia from the 12th to the 13th centuries. The Zagwe dynasty is known for its rock-hewn churches in Lalibela, which are still considered some of the most impressive architectural achievements in Africa. In the 13th century, the Solomonic dynasty, claiming descent from the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, rose to power in Ethiopia. The Solomonist dynasty, also known as the Solomonic dynasty, is the ruling imperial house of Ethiopia. It traces its roots back to the biblical King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, who is believed to have been from the region that is now Ethiopia. These, in fact, are some of the stories found in the Ethiopian Bible which they would rather ban and declare illegal than let you know your history and the whole truth the way it is. According to the Western Bible, the Queen of Sheba had visited the King Solomon from Ethiopia because of the king's renowned wisdom far and near. She had visited with the aim of also seeking wise counsels from the king. With her came many gifts. It was stated precisely in 1 Kings chapter 10 that the Queen of Sheba is a seeker of truth and wisdom, and she has heard that King Solomon of Israel is a very wise man. She travels on a camel to Jerusalem to meet with the king and test his knowledge with hard questions and riddles. Solomon answered all her riddles correctly, and the foreign queen gifted the Israelite king with large quantities of gold, spices, and precious stones. It was in fact stated that never again were there so many spices brought in as those that the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. This the Western Bible had readily told us. But what it sure didn't tell us, which the Ethiopian Bible, the Kebra Nagast, reveals, is, during the queen's visit in Jerusalem, she and the king had a son together, his name, Menelik. It further says that Menelik didn't stay with the father. Queen Sheba had taken the boy back to Ethiopia and made him the first emperor. Menelik once. In 2012, experts looked at the genetic makeup of many Ethiopians and found some evidence to support the queen's journey to Jerusalem and birth there. The Solomonic dynasty ruled Ethiopia for over 700 years, establishing the Ethiopian Empire and expanding its territory through conquest and diplomacy. The empire reached its height under Emperor Menelik II, who defeated the Italians at the Battle of Adwa in 1896, making Ethiopia the only African nation to successfully resist European colonization. Let's now look closer into the history of that revered holy book of theirs with lots of controversial opinions tied around it, the Ethiopian or Jay's Bible.
This is the oldest book in Ethiopia.
No more painting, only writing, damaged.
Okay.
Original.
This is the
The
original.
original, Mary.
Ethiopia has some of the oldest scrolls of Israel. Unlike the King James Bible, which contains 66 books, the Ethiopic Bible comprises a total of 88 books and includes some writings that were rejected or lost by other churches. There are certain Ethiopian tribes who have been worshipping the God of Israel for over 3,500 years. But this does not mean that all Ethiopians worship the God of Israel. A great many Ethiopian Hamite populations are split Orthodox, Muslim, Protestant, etc. in worship. But Christianity was introduced to Ethiopia in the 4th century, and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, called Tewado in Ethiopia, is one of the oldest organized Christian bodies in the world. You can say one thing for sure: Ethiopia is one of the oldest civilizations in the world today, being first settled by Ham's sons after the flood of Noah. They also had all the scrolls of the Old and New Testament plus scrolls never seen before in the Gentile Christian Bibles. What is even more interesting is that Ethiopians had these scrolls long before Christianity first arrived in their society in the 4th century. In other words, Christianity was not a religion given to them like most nations. Christianity was already present in Ethiopia, as the country has been a Christian nation since the 4th century. Many say some tribes in Ethiopia have been worshipping the God of Israel for thousands of years. Not to mention that some of the true descendants of the lost tribes of Israel are still living in Africa and Ethiopia. Even the so-called Jews who live in Israel today cannot deny their claim, when they have more geological proof of their heritage to Israel than the European Jews do, and they can prove it. Throughout the centuries, Ethiopia has maintained a deep and abiding faith in Christianity. This faith is rooted in the Ethiopian Bible, also known as the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church Canon, a collection of religious texts used by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. It includes the books of the Old Testament, as well as several additional books not found in the traditional Western Christian Bible. These additional books are known as the deuterocanonical, or apocryphal books, and are considered canonical by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The Ethiopian Bible is written in Ge'ez, an ancient Semitic language, and also has a long history that has been passed down through the generations.
In the process of social incorporation and identity formation, indigenous learning plays a crucial role as a transmitter of social rules and values. Until the introduction of modern education towards the end of the 19th century, the Ethiopian Church was responsible for literacy, social values, and identity.
The earliest evidence of Christianity in Ethiopia dates back to the 4th century, when the Ethiopian king, Ezana, converted to Christianity. This conversion was followed by a period of growth in Christianity throughout the region. During this period, the early church fathers translated the Bible into the Ge'ez language, allowing the Ethiopian people to read and study the Bible in their own language. The translation of the Bible was not completed until the 8th century, when the monk Abba Pantaleon completed the translation from Greek into Ge'ez. The Bible was then divided into 2 books. The larger book, known as the Kebra Nagast, contains the Old Testament, and the smaller book, known as the Fetha Nagast, contains the New Testament. The Ethiopian Bible has gone through several revisions over the centuries. In 1630, the Bible was revised for the first time in over 500 years. This revision was undertaken by the scholar Abba Bari, who was tasked by the Emperor Johannes II with updating the translation. Abba Bari's revision was the first major revision of the Bible since its original translation, and it helped to bring the Bible up to date with modern language and understanding. Interestingly, the Ethiopian Bible has played an important role in the history of Ethiopia and its people. It has been a source of guidance and comfort for generations of Ethiopians, and it remains a vital part of their spiritual and cultural identity. It also continues to be a source of strength and inspiration for the Ethiopian people. Now let's get to why the much-revered Bible was banned. The Ethiopian Bible was banned for several reasons, primarily by European colonizers and missionaries during the 19th and 20th centuries. One of these reasons is as a result of doctrinal differences. During the colonial period, European missionaries and scholars began to study and translate the Ethiopian Bible, which contained texts that were not included in the traditional Christian canon. As they became more familiar with the Ethiopian Bible, they began to question its authenticity and its theological implications. The Ethiopian Bible, as we earlier stated, contains several books that are not found in the Protestant or Catholic Bibles, known as the Apocrypha or Deuterocanonical books. These books were considered non-canonical by European Christian denominations. Some European scholars argued that the texts in the Ethiopian Bible were not consistent with mainstream Christian beliefs and should not be considered part of the biblical canon. European colonial powers, such as Italy during its occupation of Ethiopia in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, sought to suppress the Ethiopian Bible and promote their own versions of Christianity. They viewed the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and its sacred texts as obstacles to their efforts to control and Christianize the Ethiopian population. The European missionaries and scholars dismissed the Ethiopian Bible as inferior to the Bible used by Western Christian denominations. But actually, this is funny, because the Bible was never really the cultural history of the Westerners, but of the Ethiopians in the first place, of the blacks. So it was never the choice of the Westerners, nor is it in their authority to choose or decide what is valid or not biblically. Nonetheless, they criticized the content, language, and interpretations of the Ethiopian biblical texts. The Bible was further marginalized and excluded from mainstream discussions of biblical scholarship and religious studies in Europe, and was not given the same level of recognition or respect as the Bible used by Western Christian denominations. Another reason for banning the Ethiopian Bible is due to Europeans' desire to control and dominate the Ethiopian territory. The European colonizers, particularly the Portuguese, sought to exert control and domination over the Ethiopian people. By banning the Ethiopian Bible, they aimed to suppress the indigenous culture and traditions of the Ethiopian people and impose their own cultural and religious practices. They viewed the Ethiopian Bible as a symbol of resistance to their authority, and saw it as a threat to their efforts to convert Africans to Christianity and impose their own cultural and religious beliefs. The clamor for the Ethiopian Bible's ban was an attempt to undermine Ethiopians' traditional teachings and customs. This was done through missionary activities and the establishment of European-controlled churches and schools, which aimed at promoting European values and ideologies over those of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Hence, banning the Ethiopian Bible was a way to assert control over the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and its followers. Furthermore, missionary activities also necessitated the banning of the Ethiopian Bible. European missionaries viewed the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as a rival to their own efforts to convert the Ethiopian population to Christianity. The missionaries, particularly those from the Roman Catholic and Protestant traditions, viewed the Ethiopian Bible with suspicion and strove to suppress its use among Ethiopian Christians. They believed that the inclusion of apocryphal texts in the Ethiopian Bible was heretical and sought to impose their own versions of the Bible on the Ethiopian Christian community. In addition to the reasons, the Ethiopian Bible banning was also influenced by political power dynamics in Ethiopia. European powers, particularly during the colonial period, sought to exert influence over Ethiopia and its religious institutions in order to further their own political and economic interests. The tactic used by Europeans was to support rival factions within the Ethiopian Orthodox Church in order to create division and weaken the church's authority. This was often done by backing certain bishops or clergy members who were more sympathetic to European interests and undermining those who were seen as more resistant to outside influence. Furthermore, European powers desired the control of key positions within the Ethiopian government and exert pressure on the ruling monarch in order to gain leverage over the church. By manipulating political power dynamics in this way, Europeans were able to weaken the church's autonomy and influence. We can summarily say that the banning of the Ethiopian Bible was as a result of the influence and power of European missionaries in Ethiopia, who sought to impose their own religious beliefs and practices on the Ethiopian Christian community. This led to the marginalization and suppression of the Ethiopian Bible, which continues to be a source of controversy and debate among scholars and theologians. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, European missionaries and scholars lobbied for the banning of the Ethiopian Bible, arguing that it was heretical and should not be circulated among Christian communities. They actively worked to ban the Ethiopian Bible and replace it with their own translations of the Bible. They pressured Ethiopian rulers and church leaders to adopt their versions of the Bible and to suppress the use of the Ethiopian Bible. This pressure eventually led to the Ethiopian Bible being banned by the Catholic Church in the early 20th century. Banning of the Ethiopian Bible was a way to undermine the authority of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and promote European missionaries' own brand of Christianity. The books of the Ethiopian Bible that were banned are known as the apocryphal or deuterocanonical books. These books include the books of Enoch, Jubilees, Tobit, Judith, Baruch, Sirach, Wisdom, 1st and 2nd Maccabees, and many others. The book of Enoch is attributed to the biblical figure Enoch, who was taken up to heaven. The book contains unique material on the origins of demons and Nephilim, why some angels fell from heaven, an explanation of why the Genesis flood was morally necessary, and a prophetic exposition of the 1,000-year reign of the Messiah. Jubilees, which is also known as the Book of Jubilees, is a book retelling the biblical history from creation to the giving of the law at Mount Sinai, with a focus on the importance of observing the Sabbath and other religious practices. Tobit tells the story of Tobit, a righteous man who is blinded and experiences various trials and tribulations, but is ultimately rewarded for his faithfulness. Judith, on the other hand, tells the story of a brave Jewish widow named Judith, who saves her people from the invading Assyrian army by seducing and beheading their general, Holofernes. The book of Baruch is attributed to Baruch, a scribe and companion of the prophet Jeremiah, and contains prayers and reflections on the exile of the Jewish people. Sirach, which is also known as Ecclesiasticus, is a collection of wisdom sayings and advice for living a righteous life. The Book of Wisdom, also known as the Wisdom of Solomon, shares a philosophical reflection on the nature of wisdom and the importance of living a virtuous life. And finally, books of the Maccabees recount the history of the Maccabean revolt against the Seleucid Empire and the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem, with events that are celebrated during the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. These books were banned by some branches of Christianity because they were not included in the Hebrew Bible and were considered non-canonical. However, they are still considered sacred and authoritative by the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. In conclusion, the banning of the Ethiopian Bible is a complex and multifaceted issue that raises important questions about the intersection of religion, politics, and cultural heritage. The decision to ban this sacred text reflects a long history of colonialism, imperialism, and religious intolerance that has been on for as long as anyone can remember and sought to suppress and control the beliefs and practices of marginalized communities. The Ethiopian Bible, with its unique blend of Christian and Jewish traditions, represents a rich and diverse cultural heritage that has been preserved and passed down through generations. By banning this text, authorities are not only silencing the voices of Ethiopian Christians, but also erasing a vital part of their history and identity. Ultimately, the banning of the Ethiopian Bible calls for a re-evaluation of the ways in which power and privilege shape our understanding of history and shape our interactions with others. It is a call to action to stand in solidarity with those whose voices have been silenced and to work towards a more inclusive and equitable world where all beliefs and traditions are respected and celebrated. That brings us to the end of yet another interesting video segment. Do endeavor to kindly reach us through the comment section where you can drop your...
All right. So, man, a lot of interesting bits of information there. Some of that, a lot of that, honestly, I have not dug into, but definitely will have to definitely seek some additional information on some of these that was shared, on some of this that was shared. So definitely gonna have to dig into this and see what is what there. I do not personally have a version or a copy of the Ethiopian Bible. I was looking for it while this was playing. Apparently there is a, oh, wait a minute. Hold on, I just found something. Looks like on Bible.com, there is a version, G-E-Z, G-E-E-Z.
Yes.
Yes, they're saying that's it. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
They say what was it?
The Gez is the Ethiopian Bible.
Okay, yeah, that's the language that it's written in.
Yeah, so I just clicked on it, and apparently this is it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm wondering. I wonder, do they have a translation like that where it's not? Well, I guess so.
Well, I wonder. No, this is TS here. So let me see.
Okay.
Let me see here if I can find the GEEZ here.
And you know, I was unaware of some of this information.
Yeah.
You know, where it spoke about how the Ethiopian Bible gives a different account on the relationship between Shlomo and Queen of Sheba, the Ethiopian queen. I'd like to check that out because, you know, I've heard that before, that you know, Solomon had a son with this queen, and that you know, he had become, you know, he started this Solomonic or dynasty of Ethiopia. But you know, we don't read that in the common Bible that we use, the King James. You know, we just read about, you know, how she traveled to hear his wisdom. Now, does it sound out of the realm of possibility that Shlomo had relations with this queen? I would say no, because we know that he had, you know, 300 wives and 700 concubines.
Reverse, actually, 700 wives, 300 concubines.
Okay, Salaki, good looking.
That's right. But yeah, no, go ahead, Doc. I wasn't trying to interrupt you.
Well, no, I was just saying, you know, it doesn't sound out of the realm of possibility. You know, interesting. Also, you know, it spoke about how a lot of the they've done, I guess, blood DNA test on some of the people, some of the Ethiopians, and there does appear to be some mixing in, but they don't say that they come from the majority of the Ethiopian people that tie back to Israelites. Don't say that they come from Judah. They call themselves the tribe of Dan. Yeah.
Yeah, because Solomon would have been from the tribe of Judah.
Right, exactly.
We his own son, so that's ironic. Yeah, I'm looking on here, and I don't know if I may be, I don't know, Bible language and translation. I'm going to keep looking at this, but this is it, Bible languages. So this is the language. So I guess it's not saying that it's the actual book. I guess it's saying it's available in that language. More Bible versions.
Okay.
I guess.
You know, Israel now, up in Cincinnati, you know, they have a copy of Ethiopian Bible there at their place of work.
Okay. Well, that may be the case, but I'm interested in checking it out. I did see something about a PDF, so that may be something that that we dig into and kind of compare the text and see what the differences are there. But let's continue. We have another video we want to jump to, and with that one being kind of short, this informative. So, but let's jump to the other video. And this one is the untold story of the Black hero who saved the Union's pride. So let's get to this one.
Our history tells of countless armed heroes in the past, figures such as Audie Murphy, Desmond Doss, and Alvin York. But a notable similarity among them is that they are white. History seldom mentions countless remarkable Black heroes who made great feats in war. One specific Black figure became a legacy to be followed by many more, the first of our kind to ever be worthy of the highest praise of the armed forces of the United States. This remarkable individual is none other than Sergeant William H. Kearny. What exactly happened that an enslaved man became a hero of the very country that seemingly despised him? William H. Kearny was born to William Kearny Sr. and Ann Dean in Norfolk, Virginia on February 29, 1840. Though his physical body was enslaved upon birth, his thirst for knowledge and his imagination were very much free. By the age of 14, he defied the oppressive laws of the 1800s by attending a secret school run by a minister. Despite the risks posed by anti-literacy laws, Kearny learned to read and write, immersing himself in the study of the Bible through his education. Later, his family was freed from slavery and settled in another location. The specific path to freedom for William H. Kearny and his family is not definitively known. Some reports suggest that Kearny has escaped independently through the Underground Railroad and reunited with his father in Massachusetts. Alternatively, there are accounts indicating that Kearny's father may have secured his son's freedom after obtaining his own through the Underground Railroad. Eventually, the Kearny family settled in New Bedford, Massachusetts, where Kearny's mother joined them following the passing of her enslaver. Kearny's hidden education and deep religious beliefs initially led him to contemplate a career in the church. However, in 1863, when the United States Army opened combat roles to African Americans, Kearny's aspirations shifted. In a letter penned in October of that year, Kearny expressed, "Though I felt a strong calling towards ministry, the call of duty to my country and fellow oppressed brethren prevailed. Thus I concluded that my service to God was best fulfilled through serving my nation." With this resolve, he enlisted for the war. William H. Kearny, just 23 years old, joined the Morgan Guards in February of 1863. This black militia, originally named for a white benefactor from New Bedford, changed its name to the Toussaint Guards 1 month after Kearny joined. The new name Toussaint came from the leader of the Haitian Revolution, Toussaint Louverture. The Haitian Revolution, a successful revolt of the enslaved population in Haiti, led to the abolition of slavery on the island and the establishment of the first Black Republic in the Americas. While the Civil War started in 1861, African Americans were initially prohibited from serving as soldiers for the Union Army. It wasn't until President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 that they were allowed to enlist. When Massachusetts called for Black soldiers, the Toussaint Guards, including Kearny, soon joined with the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry Regiment, which was notable for being the first African-American regiment in the North. The Emancipation Proclamation was a significant milestone in the fight against slavery during the American Civil War. The proclamation declared that all enslaved people in Confederate-held territory were to be set free, effectively changing the legal status of millions of African Americans from enslaved to free individuals. However, it appears that the Emancipation Proclamation did not immediately end slavery or stop the Civil War. Its impact was constrained by several factors, including its limited geographic scope and the complex political and military considerations surrounding its issuance. The proclamation only applied to Confederate-held territory, exempting areas under Union control where slavery remained legal. This meant that its immediate effects were felt primarily in the Confederate states in rebellion, where the Union had limited authority to enforce it. The Emancipation Proclamation was just one part of a larger struggle for freedom and equality that would continue long after the end of the war. And while it represented a significant turning point in the fight against slavery and the advancement of civil rights, its issuance did not immediately end all the conflict and chaos. Confederate leaders and supporters remained committed to the preservation of slavery and the Confederate cause, leading to continued fighting and bloodshed on the battlefield. Ultimately, the Civil War persisted for about 2 more years until the Confederate forces surrendered in 1865, marking the end of slavery in the United States and the beginning of a new era of Reconstruction and nation building. One particularly important fight that happened after the Emancipation Proclamation was the Second Battle of Fort Wagner. Under the leadership of Massachusetts Governor John A. Andrew, an all-black volunteer regiment was organized. Abolitionists are driven by the desire to end slavery as they made gallant efforts in recruitment. Due to the overwhelming number of volunteers, 2 regiments were formed: the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, which was where Kearny was placed, and the 55th. Oddly, white commanding officers were responsible for leading and training the black volunteers. And following their training completion in May 1863, the regiments departed to join the conflict. The 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment was initially tasked with raiding Darien, Georgia, although their officers objected to this directive, preferring them to engage in combat rather than pillaging. With this mission, they disrupted Confederate supply lines, communication networks, and morale, contributing to the overall war effort of the Union. Soon after, on July 16, 1863, the regiment saw their first battle at James Island, South Carolina, followed by the Battle of Fort Wagner just 2 days later. Led by Colonel Robert Gould Shaw, the 54th, along with the Union troops, advanced on the fort, facing around 1,800 Confederate soldiers. As the brave soldiers of the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment began their march, they knew they were marching into the jaws of danger, with the weight of an entire race resting on their shoulders. As difficult as it already is to participate in war, these brave black soldiers still faced scorn and ridicule, even while on their path to freedom, with their courage and abilities questioned by those who doubted their resolve. Mocked by white regiments, they were told that they would flee at the first sign of trouble, lacking the bravery of their counterparts. They were even denied the chance to lead themselves, dismissed as lacking in leadership qualities. But even under all of these, they were not fazed. They were determined to shatter these misconceptions and prove their critics wrong. With hearts brimming with determination, they marched forward, ready to defy the odds and show the world the true measure of their courage and strength. Despite heavy bombardment from the Union naval fleet, the Confederates fiercely defended the fort, raining bullets upon the advancing 54th. Nevertheless, under Shaw's command, the regiment pressed forward, navigating through the moat and up the fort slope. Any regiment attempting to approach Fort Wagner would undoubtedly suffer significant casualties. The narrow strip of land leading to the fort was so confined that only one regiment could advance at a time, rendering the Union forces unable to fully leverage their numerical superiority. Regrettably, this strip lacked any substantial cover, leaving any advancing troops vulnerable to the accurate fire of Confederate defenders stationed within Fort Wagner. The fort was strategically positioned with artillery aimed to repel ground assaults, complemented by additional artillery support from neighboring fortifications like Fort Sumter. Compounding the challenge was the layout of Fort Wagner's walls, which allowed the Confederates to subject their attackers to a deadly crossfire, severely impeding the 54th's attempts to breach the fortifications. To support the assault, American ground artillery and naval guns bombarded Fort Wagner for 6 hours. Despite the barrage, which resulted in 8 deaths and 20 injuries among the 1,700 Confederate soldiers stationed there, the fort remained largely undamaged. Instead of weakening the defenses, the bombardment inadvertently alerted the Confederate forces to the impending attack. Consequently, when the 54th Massachusetts Regiment launched their assault, they faced an intact barricade manned by prepared Confederate troops. During the intense battle, Colonel Shaw was killed, yet the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment persevered. The regiment endured significant losses, with 280 out of their 600 soldiers either killed, wounded, captured, or missing in action. Despite ongoing efforts by additional Union forces, the battle, lasting several hours, ended with the Union Army's withdrawal, unable to dislodge the Confederate defenders. This engagement stands as a crucial proof to the valor of black soldiers during the Civil War and served as inspiration for further enlistments among African Americans. As the battle continued, Kearny witnessed many Allied soldiers fall, some of whom were even his friends. In one fateful moment, the flag bearer of the 54th was fatally shot. Without hesitation, Kearny quickly jumped to catch the flag, refusing to let it touch the ground. Kearny himself was shot multiple times, but he stood his ground and endured with his wounds. Advancing little by little, he was able to hold the flag without letting it touch the ground. Maintaining the integrity of the flag uplifted the morale of troops, and it reminded them with a sense of purpose and determination. This act of Kearny inspired numerous soldiers to persevere in the face of the adversity they are currently in and to uphold the principles for which the flag stands. Soon after, the 54th received official orders to temporarily retreat. Other soldiers helped Kearny as he needed immediate medical attention. Despite sustaining severe injuries during the Battle of Fort Wagner, Kearny courageously rescued the American flag, declaring, "I did but my duty. The dear old flag never touched the ground." Kearny discarded his weapon and advanced.
Man, God dog. I know what the word it was talking about, the pride of Union. They was talking about a stupid flag. I thought they was talking about something worth hearing about.
And Con, I guess for the sake of argument, we can count, beginning with yourself, being in captivity and Mizraim, being promoted in that captivity to second in all the land. We know that he wasn't the only one that found themselves in. Daniel found himself in Babylonian captivity and rising to a position of prominence. Who else? Let's see. There were others, and I think looking back on it now, what we know now, I don't think any of us would risk it all for this flag, for these, this country that holds us
Captain.
Captive and at the bottom of the barrel. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I know that some of our people have done well and rose to powers of positions of prominence in captivity, and I don't think that was so much the case, because I had never heard of this brother before. So I can't say that his situation is similar to because he did the work and they didn't get any credit. Doesn't sound like to me.
Yeah, kind. It's while he was going through that, and before I stopped it, I didn't realize they were talking about that stupid flag. I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to uplift. The brother did a valiant thing in the sense of keeping the troops motivated and the duty to his people. I believe. I wouldn't dare say, here's the thing. If this place fell into war, would I be trying to help? No, absolutely not. I mean, that's preposterous. But I know better. I was a part of the military, and I thought it was my duty. But that's because I didn't have knowledge, I didn't have understanding, and I considered myself at that time an American. I don't consider myself an American any longer. Consider myself an Israelite. I am an Israelite. Don't consider myself. I am an Israelite. I'm an Israelite captive in America. So does that mean that I should be fighting for America? I should be representing America? No, I don't represent America. America is the land of my captivity, and that's all it is and ever will be. Now, back to what the brother was talking about. That situation, again, I didn't realize that's what it was, or I wouldn't have put this video up here about a flag. But we got to take let's think about this. You think the Most High would want people looking at the United States flag and going, yeah, I can keep going now? No, that's idolatry. You know what I'm saying? That's idolatry. So that's definitely something that I really wouldn't want to be pushing or even talking about. I didn't know that's what they were mentioning. So it is what it is. Still shout out to the brother. I think he was doing what he thought at that time would be the best thing. And maybe it was in that situation. It is ironic that they didn't give him any insight or any shine, and we haven't really heard about it. So those situations, should we make light of those, or should we just move on? I say we move on and just learn. What's important, what should be important to us, is always our obligation to the one that created us. And as Israelites, that's our sole contribution. We know that in times past, our people been taken in captivity in so many different societies and countries and nations and so on and so forth. The Romans, they had us fighting in Colosseums, fighting lions and bears and all of these type of things. And the only thing that we can do is, in a situation like that, is rally around the brothers that was doing it. So we could try to keep ourselves safe one with another. So, you take his tail, I'll take his head. And, hopefully we make it out of this thing alive. So, but that's how we got to look at these situations in these captivities, because we're not here to help these people fight their battles. We're not here to help these people, be in our military. A lot of so-called blacks or so-called black people in the military, a lot of sons of Yaakov, a lot of Israelites in the military, because it allows you to have to exercise that discipline, and then it gives you a paycheck and a lot of good benefits. So anyway, that's it pretty much for that. I don't think you got anything else, right?
Nah. La.
Okay. Well, we're gonna close this out here. We had 43 minutes. I think that's more than reasonable for a video review of for Black Journals. Shout out to Black Journals. I wish I would have previewed that video, but that's okay. But still, shout out to Black Journals. I understand what you're doing, and I really appreciate the great work that you are putting up, and look forward to the next one. Until that time, we're going to close out with the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter number 12 and verse number 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. It is so very important that we understand that in the conclusion of the whole matter, we are to fear the Most High and keep his commandments, because this is the whole duty of man. At the end of the day, when it is all said and done, all the dust is settled and all the smoke is cleared, we will be judged on whether we feared the Most High and kept his commandments. Why? Because this is the entire reason that we were made. I am Yaakazaki Yahu, joined by my most esteemed Kenaniah, giving all praises, all honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah, Bahashem, Yahushua, Hamashiach, Wamalak. I've been waiting to throw that in.
God.
I've been waiting to throw that in there. But anyway, to the 12 tribes of Israel who are scattered to the four quarters of the earth, I say shalom wa baruchim, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day that the Most High brings us back together and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation under the Most High power, under one covenant. Until that day, it's like it, and back in our own land, and without the heart of stone, but with the heart of flesh. Until that day, Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom, Mr. Pekai.
All praises to the Father. Hallelujah.